Wonderful. Welcome back after lunch to the second African International E-Waste Conference, live from Nairobi and many other parts of the world today. So here in Nairobi, it's now 1:30, and with us for this first session of the afternoon is Ms. Vera Wachira, Investment Associate at DOB Equity, Netherlands. We have Patrick Obonyo, IKEA Foundation, Netherlands, who is not here now. And Mark Carey from Sinapis Group, UK. Here now, Patrick, you're back. Lovely. I lost you there. Welcome so much to this panel. And the theme for today is investments in circular solutions and startup support in general, but of course skewed towards e-waste management and business models around electronic circularity. So what we will do is we have time until 2:15. Now it will be different timings for all of us, but we have 45 minutes. Now it's just 40, where we will discuss this, but I would love for you to present yourself and the way you look upon this subject from your point of view, and then we can take the discussion from there. And for all the attendees, in your right-hand panel, you have a discussion and a Q&A section. It doesn't matter where you put your input, we will see it anyhow. And you can also find the information about the panelists, and you can also fraternize and interact with anyone in the session through the lobby and lounge. And down here you have some interaction buttons where you can give a thumbs up or a clap or even a heart, which is always encouraging now when we're in front of screens, all of us. So with that, I don't know if you had already backstage decided who wanted to start, but otherwise in my notes I have Vera, I have Patrick, and I have Mark. Is that a good order for you guys? Yeah, let's start with Vera then. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Simon. So start with a introduction of DOB and what we think about circular solutions and the startup support that we provide. My name is Vera Wachira. I'm part of the investment team at DOB Equity. And DOB Equity is a Dutch family-backed impact investor that focuses on early-stage companies that are solving imminent challenges across East Africa. So we are sector agnostic, but often we look at solving problems across different thematic areas. And currently we're looking at problems that are either solved through tech enablement and others that require more CapEx investments. And under that bucket, that's where we have solutions under circular economy, as well as sustainable food systems and agriculture. And that's the area that we champion, within DOB. So we are investors and we invest in equity. For early stage companies, we do ticket sizes between $250,000 to $500K. And then for we can also follow on from 500 to 2 million, depending on what stage the company is at. So in terms of circular economy, we find that solutions that are in this space require a bit of CapEx investment, so they tend to be require more investments, and they solve different challenges. So we have a portfolio of about 30 companies, and out of that, I think 5 are within the circular space. So they're either doing recycling or in regenerative agriculture or renewable energy. So it's broad. And so our support is first in investing in the companies, but we also provide TA facilities that enhance sustainability or circularity within their own business models, as well as making synergies within their portfolio just to enhance the circularity. What we've seen as a main, so this being a relatively pioneering sector, so to speak, there's still challenges that need to be solved from the sourcing space to the processing space to the offtake, and ensuring that that is done in a sustainable manner. Because often the problem is very imminent, but in terms of finding a sustainable solution, that we've found that it's a challenge, and often companies that start tend to pivot a bit until they get their bearing. Yeah, I will stop there.
Lovely.
Hello, can
Thank
you hear
you,
me?
Vera. Yes,
Yeah, all right.
we've heard all of it. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very interesting. And we go, I think, straight to Patrick, and then we can have a discussion afterwards. So Patrick Obonyo from IKEA Foundation.
Let me know if you can hear because I couldn't hear very clearly. Can you hear me?
We hear you, but but it's breaking a bit. We'll see how it goes.
Let me start, and if I'll see if I can, my Wi-Fi.
I will take away my video. Might help.
Okay, is that better now? Can you hear me better now?
Go ahead.
Can you hear?
Yes. You can go ahead.
Yeah, hear me. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm here to represent the IKEA, and the IKEA Foundation works to help families to afford better lives and protect the planet. In simple language, we support programs that help improve livelihoods, opportunities for families, and help them fight and cope with climate change. So that's simply what we do. And one of the ways in which we do that is by supporting green and circular entrepreneurs to create more employment while protecting the planet, and also to help us transition to a zero carbon economy. So that's what we do at Foundation. And I want to talk a little bit about why this is important for us. At Foundation, we see that we are facing two main global challenges. One of them is poverty, and the other is, of course, climate. We have built economic systems that have generated so much wealth and created some employment, but this has come at a huge cost for the environment. For example, right now, we're consuming close to 2 planets of Earth. This model of consumption is completely unsustainable. While at the same time, we know that climate change is threatening the existence of some communities. And for example, in Kenya, we have just experienced one of the worst droughts in the last 10 years. And it could probably be blamed on change because of the global warmings. Similarly, we are seeing great socioeconomic inequalities increasing around the world. The World Bank estimated that due to COVID, 100 million people lost their jobs. In the closer home at Kenya, unemployment among young people is escalating, and this is trapping so many people in poverty. But also the current economic scenario with high levels of inflation and increased cost of living is certainly driving more people into poverty. And for us as a foundation, we think that these climate and economic challenges calls for a different types of solutions and business models. We can't continue with business as usual. And this call also for new type of entrepreneurs who care for the people, who care for the planet, and care for profits as well. And it calls for green and circular entrepreneurial solutions and entrepreneurs who can develop solutions that address both the long-term climate challenges while also creating meaningful and decent employment for their communities. And I just want to, reference some of the research that we conducted this year, actually, beginning last year until this year, with the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs, where we sought to understand the challenges that circular and green enterprises are facing in Kenya. I think it was quite clear from this research that there are three major, challenges that enterprises were facing. Enterprises say they were unable to access the right kind of capital at the right time for their businesses. They were struggling to get the right kind of support, both technical, but also, staff and capacity building that they needed. And they were basically not having, enough policy support. So the policy environment was not so strong for them. And a few of them were struggling with accessing new markets. And so as a foundation, we think that the best way to address this and create more opportunities for investments in circular businesses and startups is three ways. And our investments on startups and circular solutions cut across, let's say, three sectors. One is renewable energy. We support circular and regenerative agriculture, and we support hugely in the waste sector. And we invest in three areas. One is that we invest in organizations that help nurture green and circular startups across these three sectors. We are also, supporting organizations that grow existing circular enterprises by providing, business development services, but also technical support and help them access finance as well. And we also try to create linkages between enterprises and county governments to create sustainable waste management or sustainable agricultural programs, or create long-term solutions to renewable energy products. And what we believe as a foundation is that we can't do this alone. And to achieve this, we want to work with other players and other investors to ensure that we can help accelerate progress and deliver more meaningful, positive change, but also direct more resources to new business models that help address these two key challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It's great to hear what IKEA Foundation wants to do and is doing. Now we lost Mark somehow. And I'm sorry for the duplicate sound. I noticed we could not mute Mark while you were talking, so maybe there are some issues from his side. Did I now lose Vera as well? No, she's back.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So while we wait for Mark to hopefully rejoin, since we lost him, this is really great. How do you see, have you, for instance, been working together before? You mentioned the collaborative investor approach, Patrick, or Vera. Do you have some other investors that you usually work together with? And how are the startups or the business models that you want to reach? How do they know about you? How do they go about to find you? Okay, now Mark is back. So we paused that question, and welcome back, Mark.
Thanks.
Let's mute ourselves and leave the floor to you as we listen to how the Sinapis group is working. I know we have some collaboratives, so looking forward to hear more.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Sorry I dropped off, just missed the end of what you said, Patrick, but I was interested to hear the majority of it, and also from Vera as well. My name is Mark Carey. I represent Sinapis Group. and Sinapis is a faith-based organization that is looking to support entrepreneurs to scale their social and spiritual impact in their communities. So as such, I guess our predominant focus is on social impact when we talk about impact, but we're also sector agnostic, and therefore we work with a number of entrepreneurs in the circular economy, and therefore have some level of understanding, probably not to the let's say degree that Patrick would have and Simone and others, but at least some level of understanding of how the circular economy can work and what a strong growing business looks like within the circular economy. At Sinapis, I run a couple of programs. One of them is our accelerator, where we work with early stage businesses. And another, I don't run, but I'm part of the team that manages the Kenya Catalytic Jobs Fund, which again works with, I guess, a bit larger sized businesses, with, again, the predominant impact that fund is looking for. That's a challenge fund that is really interested in job creation. But again, is then agnostic about the types of businesses they're working with. And so, for example, we are a partner of the We Center, and we are interested. We have a number of entrepreneurs that we work with on the circular economy. So I'm not an investor myself. We're not investors, but we do often support our entrepreneurs as they prepare either to pitch in our competition. We have our own competition that we run with the entrepreneurs that we train. Like I said, the KCGF was a challenge fund, so we worked with helping our entrepreneurs pitch. And whenever we're in those sort of situations, we're asking them we're basically guiding them as to what we think investors would be interested in. And therefore, that's why I think I'm interested in this discussion. I'm not, like I said, we're not investors ourselves, but we speak to a number of investors as they interact with entrepreneurs that we support. And we therefore have some element of understanding of what it takes to invest in businesses that are working in the circular economy. And maybe before we go to like the broader discussion, I could just touch on a couple of points which I think overlap with a bit of what Vera was saying and what Patrick was saying as well. I guess generally the feedback that we get from investors across the board, not just in circular economy, is that the team is very important, that it's often better to see at least a co-founder or a broader leadership team that's helping the business move forward. And one of the things that we hear so often when we're working in these types of scenarios with investors is that businesses should focus on what they do and really focus on that. Bearing in mind, especially we work with relatively early stage businesses. So when you're a small growing business, I think it's even more important that you know the core of what you do and you focus on it. And so sometimes I think when we look at the circular economy businesses, that type of focus can potentially be a challenge. And I heard Vera talk about businesses iterating sometimes around their business model, and Patrick talking about what we might call the triple bottom line in terms of we're looking at businesses that are having, of course, a financial impact, but also a social impact and environmental impact. And I think sometimes when all of those things are in play, that's when businesses can sometimes find it a challenge to present themselves as a really strong investment for an impact investor. And for me, I think it's very important that all businesses think about what's critical to them. What's the impact they're looking to achieve? What's their societal impact? What's their environmental impact? Even which of those is more important? Because sometimes those can even sort of, operate in different directions. If we take examples, say, in waste management, maybe a business would collect more waste if it goes to collect waste from the dump site, where the majority of the waste is found in Kenya. But equally, it would create a better quality job if the waste was collected from the household level and then maybe sorted in their own sorting areas. So we can see, like in many examples, there's a slight tension between the society impact and the environmental impact. And then if we throw in the financial as well, of course, impact investors need to see the impact, but also to see that the business is going to be viable going forward and it's going to scale and be profitable. And again, sometimes there can be tensions between what's the best from a profit perspective and what's the best from a environmental or social impact perspective. So I think it's always like important from what we see for businesses in the circular economy to be very, very clear on the impact that they're looking to achieve, but also to be looking at all the drivers from financial, social, and environmental, and as much as possible looking for alignment. I think when the environmental impact increases as the revenues and the profits increase of the business, we could say there's alignment there, and that's where we typically see it's easiest for impact investors to then get on board, because they can drive for the impact they're looking for, but also they see that the business is aligned on that. So yeah, from what we see, I think there's great potential in the circular economy for businesses to have the triple effect that Patrick was talking about, and I think it's very critical that business owners think about all of those things, look for alignment, and from there really find what's the key thing that our business should be focused on. What are we driving towards? What are we trying to grow? What will increase our impact at the same time as increasing our revenue and profits? And I also think that the last point that I see from entrepreneurs is during that analysis, it's also important to see what part of what we're doing is a business, and what part of what we're doing could be classified as our CSR or could be classified as additional impact that we're having around the businesses. And many businesses in that scenario will often see actually they hive off some of their activities maybe to an NGO arm or a mixed model in their business to ensure that the core of what they do is focused on scaling and growing their impact as well as their business. So yeah, sorry, I just missed the end of Patrick, but I did appreciate what my fellow speakers were saying, and it definitely resonated with what we're hearing from all the investors that we work with in this space. And it's very exciting to see how this area can move forward and grow and establish these types of businesses.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Mark. It's great to hear. And you actually semi-answered my question that I started to pose to Vera and Patrick as we were waiting for you. So
you should also have it from the horse's mouth, I think. Given I'm not an investor, they might also answer you better.
For sure, but also that's good because you're somewhat in between, correct? Like you said, you also had in the challenge helping with how to pitch, how to find, which is, I think, many times the questions from these entrepreneurs, whether they are new startups or whether they have been a while. It's like, how do I make my business model shine? How do I present it to someone? How can I possibly? And, it's one thing saying that you're looking for an investor, and then you talk to the investors and they ask very initiated and questions using a language that you might not be very well conversant with, talking about equity and all of these different things. So, which makes it a bit harder suddenly also knowing, okay, what do I want? What do I need? How am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to answer? And it's intimidating, because you might be standing there and you see that they are interested in your model, and then you don't even know how to really respond. So how do we enable and make this conversation between investors and entrepreneurs easier, more Any ideas? How do you usually do it from your side, Vera, when you meet with companies that are eager to get funding, of course, to hopefully scale their great idea? You look for some different things, of course, but also how do we enable them to talk to you so that you guys talk the same language?
Yeah, so thanks, Simon, for that. So one thing is we work very closely with other stakeholders within the space. So accelerators really help in terms of just creating an awareness first that there's another channel of funding, impact investments, grant, VC, because especially for the local founders, that is not something that is taught, or rather used to be taught, at least the companies to be aware of this funding and also how to really prepare to raise funds and how to make sharp their business model. What problem are they solving? How are they solving it? How are they making money? And how are they having an impact? And what do they require? Because sometimes you speak to companies and they think they need equity, then on realizing it's actually a more grant because they're piloting different new stuff that maybe grant would solve and not necessarily equity. Others, debt is a better solution. So these are some of the things that come out clearly when they go through a challenge program or an accelerator program in that camp. One of the other things we've done, especially we noted there was a gap for local and female-led and owned businesses. So we started an initiative where we invite them so they send a small brief on who they are, and then we invite them for a short pitch just to hear what they are doing and send feedback. And if it's too early for us, we'll tell them it's too early, but we like your business. You need to improve on fine-tune what is your offering, possibly speak to this accelerator, and then we can keep contact. The other way is also we collaborate with other investors and share opportunities. And so one opportunity may be great for us, not great for us, but would work for someone else. So it's also a space that we see a lot of collaboration with different investors and grant providers and accelerators as well. Because our awareness is much needed in the space. Both from an entrepreneurial space side as well as us as investors, because some businesses start operating and they really don't know VC as an alternative way of funding. They just think I will fund through my family, or if I go to a third party, it has to be a bank. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Patrick, do you have another take, or can you elaborate?
Yeah, just addition to I think Vera session the call that which is know your business size and seek which is around the incubation and acceleration. I think at our end, we as a foundation cannot be able to invest equity or debt into the businesses, and we rarely invest directly into the businesses. So there are three kinds of collaboration that we are trying to stimulate, and that you asked me about the collaboration. The first is, collaborating with incubation or acceleration programs that can provide grant capital to early stage. So we know that we can be able to provide grants to these programs, and these programs can redirect those grants to enterprises, but they can also provide the needed, business developed services those businesses need. So that's the first kind of collaboration that we do. And we're now trying to also build a collaboration with what we call I wouldn't call them really investors or equity investors, but also sort of larger scale growth capital providers or growth business development services provider like social business, where they provide the capital or the debt that the business needs, and we provide the support for sort of the technical assistance. So that's the third layer, the second layer of sort of collaborations that we try to build to ensure that businesses can access capital. And then the third level is sort of a business at a larger level, where we are trying to redirect more capital into businesses. And this example could be of importance here, where we are working with Australia, Africa, to be able to redirect more capital. So we provide both capital, and together with other donors like FCDO or USID, we are able to redirect more capital to regenerative and circular agriculture in Kenya, for example, by making sure that there is capital is accessible for businesses either through banks or through other investors or through financial banking institutions.
When it comes to these three impact, we want the financial sustainability, we want the social sustainability, we want the environmental. Of course, I know that you all are very aware, as soon as we address any environmental issues, we immediately make the social sustainability much better also, due to health implications. And also if we, of course, have climate impact or environmental biodiversity loss, people will not fare well in those areas. So of course they are all together mixed, and also if we teach them how to teach anyone how to do sustainable agriculture, more people can be fed, etc., etc. So now we have some extra sounds in the background, but anyway, do you see more social enterprises today, 2022, than what has been before? That is one question. And then, is that because you guys have become much more aware and are asking for it, or how do you see this happening now here across Africa and other parts? Maybe Mark, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't. So I wouldn't comment statistically or anything, but just in terms of what I've seen, let's say in the last 8 years. So I guess I've been working here in Kenya for about 8 years, really actively in this field. I think part of this. Patrick, can you mute?
For some reason, I've lost my admin rights, so I can't mute anyone. Patrick, you need to mute yourself. There's some very cute baby sounds in the background.
Yeah, I think this is also relates to your other point about language. For me, I think there could be a rise in Kenya, for example, in the number of businesses calling themselves social enterprises. But there was also a lot of businesses acting in Kenya that were social enterprises without saying they were. I think a lot of, actually, from my limited experience, let's say where I'm from in the UK to here, there's a lot more business people that think about something beyond just the financial anyway. They may have even started a business to help their family, or they may have started a business looking for something positive that they're creating in their community. But until recently, maybe they didn't think of that as a social enterprise. I think the awareness of the term, and maybe the big, the interconnected impacts between not just community but also the environment, and how all of that, can positively drive connected impact. I think that awareness has increased, and we'll see more businesses, with circular economy solutions. But overall, I think this has always been a country, from what I can see, where there's a lot of entrepreneurs that, they're not just in business just to make money. Of course, some are, but there's also a lot that have another motivation as well. And then I could just caveat that by saying, of course, there's a bit of a bias for me. By the time I meet a business, typically they've come through our program, and our programs are focused on, how you create impact in your business, both in your community and spiritually. So I probably see like a subset of all the businesses in Kenya to draw that conclusion from. Yeah. Thanks.
And I see Vera and Patrick, you're nodding as Mark is talking, so I'm just getting that you agree upon that. Maybe I can take my next question, or would you want to add something on that? No?
Yeah, so just to add, so yes, there were businesses that were already solving some of these challenges, and just they were just not tracking them. But really, in their solution, they were solving for the social challenges as well as the environmental challenges, because they impact their daily way, the way of daily living. The other bit is with the global awareness that we need to be mindful of our Earth and the planet, especially in the last couple of years. So even as businesses are starting, they have a change of thinking in terms of where does my end product end, with the end in mind. So I'm producing this product, after its useful life or shelf life, what can be done to it? So there's that awareness as well that's helping, as well as the upcoming regulations, just creating more awareness that we need to be mindful of our environment, and also we need to be able to create to uplift the quality of lives of all the stakeholders that are involved within our business model. So it's a combination, I think. Yeah.
That is really great when you mention the legislation also is helping, because that is also my own experience, what is often asked about. What about this and that legislation? How do you feel? Where is the country going, or the region even? And of course, for an investor, it is important to follow that, because it can change the landscape for business models and companies. So I'm happy you mentioned that. Thank you. If we talk about other capacity buildings, you mentioned the accelerator programs and challenges, etc., challenge programs. Because how do we do? It's one thing to have a business model itself, but then as an entrepreneur, in any case, there might be a need of leadership development, administrative lean ways of working and learning digital tools, everything from Word, Excel properly to online services or other digital devices with sensors or systems that are helping you with your sales, etc. How do you work on those kind of capacity buildings for the companies? Is that something that you engage in? Let's start with Patrick. Now we need to be a bit quicker in our answers, so I give you a short input, and then I would like to hear from all three of you on that. Thank you.
To the first entrepreneurs, I think it's a point of all that is still time. I think some need on my shift for this is so much. But there is evidence that's not of business support service. Actually, it's quite clear that advisory service, which are not tuition or anything, are actually helping businesses increase their revenues, increase their markets, expand their markets, and employ more people. So I think it's something that businesses need to be aware of, especially enterprises that can pay for those services, that you can actually be able to access these kind of services that are more targeted to your needs, whether it's a leadership need or a capacity building need or whatever need that you are, and pay something to make sure that you get a high quality support that enables you to grow.
Thank you. And Vera, from DOB Equity side, how do you view and potentially help when it comes to those kind of capacity building for the businesses where you invest?
So we tend to help the company to enhance first their governance, and then at the point where investing, we evaluate and where the gaps are. And then, given that we have a portfolio of about 30 companies across East Africa, so there are synergies along, say consultants that have previously helped some of our companies solve a few challenges, whether it's in fundraising or in sales and marketing, legal, accounting, HR, operations. So we leverage on that and just make the introduction so that they are able to get a choice of expertise or experts to choose from that they can work with. Yes, and then depending on the gap, in some cases, we are able to support through the TA and also work with grant providers that we know that can support them in one area or another.
Mark, how do you work with those issues?
Sorry, I missed that, Simon.
Yeah, I said thank you. And Mark is off and on, coming on. Are you with us now, Mark?
Sorry, I was off for a second.
Yeah. How do you guys work with, just very shortly, with that kind of capacity building, which can be very important for any entrepreneur, of course, but now the ones you focus on? Seems to be a very slow.
I think for us, can you hear me now? Patrick or Vera, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a bit slow. Challenge. Yeah, you seem to be very...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry we're having these difficulties.
Sure what's happening. Maybe I can... Yeah.
But basically...
Can you hear me now? Try to switch.
Yes, we can hear you, but it's breaking quite significantly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe I can just briefly say, you'll catch it if you can, that we focus the wide part of our funnel, if you like, the most entrepreneurs that we work with, we do through a training program. So from a mixture of online and face-to-face training, we try and cover so many areas that the business owner would need. But a lot of that more specialized support that you're talking about is often available, but it's a matter of whether the entrepreneur is able to afford that, which I think often comes back to, are they ready for an investment? Are they ready to get capital into the business and expand it? But at that early stage, the way that we try and help entrepreneurs with a number of areas, whether it's finance, strategy, managing people, is through our training programs that are very practical, and help them look at how they can apply certain techniques to their business.
Thank you, Mark. Our time is up, but I want to hear just a short closing remark from each and every one of you. But now we lost Vera as well. It is very shaky today. I don't know, really. It's you and me now, Mark, and now Vera is back. So kindly, before we close this session and move to the next, which is actually just continuing on the same path with sustainable production design and role of producers, we will listen in on Bright Products, the R&D manager, Line Andersen, to hear their thoughts. Kindly, a few, one or two sentences as closing remarks when it comes to investments in this field, maybe what you see or what you hope will be coming out the next couple of years. We start with Vera.
Yeah, thank you. So we're seeing a lot of innovations within this space, but the challenge is the sustainability in terms of long-term financial sustainability. as well as the impact. So we hope that as they get more funding, all types of funding, grant, debt, and equity, then we'll have solutions that are actually sustainable financially. And then that various stakeholders from government, legislation, to investors, to the grant makers, that will all collaborate to just ensure that we are funding investable solutions, and so that this space actually breeds business models that are having a scalable impact, not just in one country, but across Africa and the world. Thank you.
Patrick? Was I audible, Patrick? Would you come with a closing remark, please?
I can hear you.
No, we're losing him. Mark, are you still with me? I see you.
Yeah. So also very excited to see, the businesses coming up in this space with the potential to have the impact that we're all looking for. I would just encourage all of those business owners. Simone, you mentioned about, the language that investors speak being different. I just think as you learn about these new sources of capital, persevere, because they'll help you scale your business. The investors that we see are generally very open, and willing to meet businesses halfway in their understanding. So I think if the business looks at, their own leadership, don't do it alone, entrepreneurs. I really think, at least having a co-founder or another leader alongside you really makes a difference. And then really being clear about how your impact aligns, with your business. What is it that you really do, and how you plan to scale. And once you know that and you know your numbers, I don't think you can go and speak to an investor without understanding the financial side of your business as well as your growth plans. But once you know those things, don't be afraid to seek out investors and see how you can work together to scale your impact. Thanks.
Lovely, great. Patrick, are you with me again? In that case, a short closing remarks, please.
Patrick, you're on mute, I think.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I said there's huge opportunities within the circular and regenerative sector, and I think the business needs to capitalize on those opportunities. Our research with Andy indicated that the growth opportunities and the sector market opportunities are so huge, and with the current technological advancement and the conversations around climate change makes opportunities worth following or worth exploring. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing for investors and people working this or trying to create opportunities for business, we need to find collaborate, because I think entrepreneurs are struggling to find different kinds of financing at different stages. And if you are able to collaborate with them and make references for entrepreneurs, that then we create a better pathway for them for growth. So that, I think, is something that is important from my end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all three. It's been a great session, many insights, and I think people are now inspired and will dare to connect with potential investors and showcase their business models. I hope you will be able to stay tuned a little bit in the afternoon, because now we move over to sustainable production design and circular economy sessions, and then awareness creation. So thank you again, and we'll stay tuned, and we will move all the attendees automatically to the next session. Take care, have a lovely day and afternoon.